How's it going? Welcome to my video. So I am sitting at the park right now, staring into the trees and stuff like that because my car is not starting. So basically, I went to the park, did a little bit of jogging, came back to my car. I think I jogged for about an hour and a half. Came back, tried to start it, and my car does not want to start. And the situation is kind of crappy considering I was hoping to get back home because I'm sweaty, it's hot out, and my AC is not working. So I got my windows rolled down because the funny thing is that the blow motor is blowing, but I'm not getting any cold air coming out of it. But everything else seems to be working fine, except for that one thing, which is the car not turning over. So I'm an hour right now, trying to figure this out. I tried turning I tried to crank it over about 10-15 times before I thought to myself, well, okay, maybe it's not just something that I could just resolve like that. But before that, I actually went out. In between all those cranks, I went out, checked the light to see whether the lights were on or not, whether the lights were blasting full brightness, and they were pretty bright. But just in case, I did ask somebody to help me out with a jump, and I was crossing my fingers, hoping that it was just the battery that was the problem. And apparently that wasn't the problem, because I spent about 15 minutes, no, not 15 minutes, about 5 minutes with the cables on the car, just trying to charge up the battery before I cranked it, and nothing. Everything, just nothing. So basically, I knew at that point that it wasn't the the battery that was the problem, and I ruled that out at that point. Anyway, regardless, I actually got the battery like 6 months ago. It's pretty much a brand new battery. Not that a brand new battery couldn't go out on you, but still. So I was thinking, no, it couldn't be the alternator at that point, because basically, if you guys know anything about alternators, they kind of die out on you when the car is on. And the car was not on when it died out on me. I've had a couple of situations with alternators before where the alternator just absolutely died out on me while I was driving, and most of the time the alternators will die out on you when you're on the road or when your engine is on. Your engine's got to be running for for alternator to die out on you. But for the most part, the big test with alternator is if you put cables onto the battery and try to jump it, it will jump up. It will jump and crank over and run as long as you have the cables on the battery. Once you take the cables off, the car will die out. And definitely wasn't the situation here, because it didn't do anything when I put cables on the battery. So my other, So I'm moving on from alternator, battery. What else could it be besides those things? It could be a computer issue, I guess, a relay or a fuse. So more troubleshooting. I was thinking maybe it could be the relay. So I'm thinking to myself, it could be the relay, but I'm hearing a click. So normally, if I'm not hearing a click, not that I could actually test it out, because I don't have anything on me to test it out. I don't have a fuse tester, and as far as relay testing is concerned, that's kind of tricky. But I tried to test it out, and I couldn't test it out. I didn't try to test it out, but I couldn't test it regardless. But I'm hearing a click when I try to turn it on. So every time I try to turn it on, there's like a click. It's a faint click, but you can hear it. And I'm pretty sure, 99% sure it's not relay, because if you try to turn the car and you're hearing a click, normally what happens is that the solenoid on the starter is actually getting power. That's the thing clicking, but the starter motor is just not running. It's broken or whatever. So that's probably the problem with that. So it's not the relay. Me trying to troubleshoot this, I don't think it's the relay. The other thing is, it could be a fuse. And as far as the fuse is concerned, it could be, I don't think this is a fuse this time, because I've had a couple of situations where I've had issues with fuses blowing out on me and the car not starting. But the situations that I had before, in those situations, it's either the car is either completely dead, and the main fuse is blown. His car is completely dead. Like there's no power going to the car at all, as if the cable is taken off the battery. That's not the case with this car. The other situation with the fuse is if you try to crank it and it cranks but it won't turn over. That could be a couple of situations, a couple of things that cause that, like a fuel pump, but it could also be a fuse. I've had that situation where a fuse blew out and it will crank, but it won't turn over. I'm not sure what that specific fuse was that caused it, but once I replaced the fuse, it cranked over. So at this point, I'm thinking it's a starter, and I'm guessing that it's the starter at this point. I mean, I can't be like 100% sure about it, but I've had like a couple of situations with starters before, and it really sounds like the starter. I'm like 99% sure that it's the starter. I'm just gonna wait for a AAA to get here so that they could tow my car and I could get the starter put in, replaced, because I mean, I could do a couple of tests once I get to the starter, but at this point I really can't do anything about it. But I'm gonna keep you guys updated. Hey guys, how's it going? So it ended up being the starter. I waited like about an hour and a half for AAA to tow my car. Got the car towed. Did a couple of tests on the starter, and it was the starter. The starter was not kicking over. Had the starter replaced, and the car starts up fine. Starts up fine every time. It's not like the biggest, huge, worst situation as far as car is concerned, but wasted a lot of time as far as that's concerned. But with starters, you're gonna replace the starter at some point, so had to replace the starter. You guys have any comments? Please leave your comment. Please subscribe. Please give me a thumbs up. All that good stuff. All right, guys.